Moment of silence for the champions, for those who make going hard a lifestyle. Never wait for nothing, gotta get it right now. I'm in the spotlight when they turn the lights down. Only a champ swing the hardest in the 12th round. I love the fourth quarter, I love the ninth inning, I love game 7. Bring on the competition, cause in my heart can't nobody do it better. Can't slow me down, won't stop me never. I'm so Cassius Clay, I'm Tyson in his prime. You little league with it, I'm Barry Bonds with mine. I beat the buzzer, baby, my stroke is holding one. You see the checkered flag, finish line, here I come. And I ain't gotta brag, I let the trophies do it. Around here we the best, now come and hold me to it. I specialize in everything that can't be done. Ain't no more talking about it, moment of silence for the champion. They say we warriors, they say we did it again. Hands high for the champion.
I am Q, he is CP, and this is QnCP on Sim Champions TV, presented by Michael Jordan's Hoop Earring. CP, what's good, bro?
Quasi, how's it going, man?
Well, we're doing it late. We're doing it the next morning, but it's all good. We're here. It's a new season, season 12 in the CFL. Kicking off into week 4 now. And I think that the hype's been pretty good. We've had some good activity, some new people posting articles and stuff, people getting consistent with it. Even Nipper posted an article week 1. Shout out to rookies keeping up with the power rankings. Hopefully he'll be the first person that actually does it every week all season. So let's see if he gets it posted today or not. Haven't seen him yet this morning.
It's going to be interesting to see if he does. After he took that loss, he was a little, things get a little flustering when people start, losing, and, the little bit of that motivation starts zapping away.
True. Yeah, I mean, that would be a huge help because then we can keep the CFL rank consistent every Monday. It just adds more for people to talk about keeping that power ranking going. We've never successfully kept it for a whole season. We've had people do every few weeks. I did it for like 8 straight games one season, then it dies off. Weirk, back when he tried to do it, did it for a few weeks and it died off. So I did make a few tweaks to the sliders. At the start of the season, we bumped up the injury and the fumble slider to like 58, and it seems like that's paid off so far with some more fumbles and some more realistic injuries. Hopefully we get some season-changing injuries. It'll suck. People will rage if it happens to them, but that's team building, that's depth, and that's what the CFL needs to be at. All these 100% healthy teams in the playoffs and 100% healthy every single team in the whole league is kind of like weak,
Exactly. And just for some perspective, if you ever feel like you're being, sought out after by the injury guys, go take a look at your NFL team in real life. Go look at their injury report, and that'll humble you and get you back where you need to be for the CFL.
Yeah. Other tweak I made 2 tweaks this week. I bumped the minimum speed threshold up to 35 from 30, which is supposed to make speeds not as distinct between speeds of players, slower and faster players, just to see what it does. We could go back to 30 if it seems whack, but I don't think it'll be a big deal. And then, and that's mainly for these 97, 98 speed guys, not including just the rookies. And then also I bumped fatigue from 42 to 48. Seemed like players, we weren't really getting into our depth. We might have to put it even higher, like 55 or something, but it seemed like people are not really getting into their depth as often as they should, especially on defensive line. And then CPU sliders, we've been messing with. Hopefully the games are a little bit more enjoyable, but I don't know. I haven't tried one yet. I did in the preseason. It was okay.
Death to the sim wins. That's how I feel about that.
True. Well, let's get into it, man. We had A massive contract signing to start the CFL season 12 out. We got Andrew Luck, and the Colts coming to terms immediately at the start of the season on a 6-year, $144 million deal, which makes him, I believe, the richest man in the CFL. But is it worth it to the Colts? And can the Colts win a CFL bowl, or at least get back to the playoff grind with Luck and that much money set aside just for one position?
I mean, can they win 5 games?
Hey,
that's a better question. You know, I'm just saying. You know, that's a team they have off. I mean, I know they have options offensively. I know they struggle defensively, but they have some players. They have, Vontae Davis is on the outside. He hasn't played well last year. He didn't play really well at all. But that's a team that has talent. And, I picked them, and I'll never let this go. I picked them last year, as the winner of that division, and I was let down at every level.
Yeah, the pickup of Jerron Riley supposed to, help Luck out, get the running game going. He's averaging under 3.5 a carry so far this season. He is a stud, but the O-line still causing issues for them. Luck is having a really good year so far through 3 games. He is I think he's averaging over 300 yards a game. He's got 10 TDs to 2 picks on the season, 131 QB rating. But he has been sacked twice a game. Completing 62% of his passes. I mean, he's playing like an upper echelon, high-tier quarterback so far this year. He's earning his paycheck, but what are they? 2-1?
2-1, I believe. Yeah. And that's a team that the Jaguars taking a loss to the Packers. They have some ground, a little bit of ground, I guess, they have on the Jaguars. They just have to win that matchup when they go play them. So we'll see what happens. I think that's the real test, what they do against the Jaguars and the Texans when they play those guys.
Yeah, the defense has been the major issue for the Colts, really. Putting up points hasn't been a problem, other than the Raiders game where they only scored 14. But the other 2 games, they've been racking up over 100 points total through 3 games. And, yeah. Hey, Luck, we'll see. Time will tell. We'll see what kind of cap situation they get into. They re-up Fleener and, what's his name? Other tight end. Dwayne Allen, last year. We obviously know Mathis is going to be this will probably be his last season. I'm not sure what the situation there is with T.Y. You're going to have Moncrief coming up in another year or so. It's going to be interesting to see how they can build this team and deal with that cap, as we've seen the cap catch up to the Saints with the Breeze contract recently. Especially this past offseason, they weren't really able to do anything, but they did hit big in the draft.
Riley, we'll see what happens with Riley. If they can get a consistent running game, they'll be able to, help take some of the pressure off of Luck. But I think the biggest key, as you alluded to a moment ago, is defensively. They have a lot of teams that they have to try to at least get a couple of stops. They can't. I watched the game. They played the Bears, and it was a good game early, but it was a lot of offensive fireworks. And I'm watching this game, and I'm like, well, Colts are going to play like this later into the season. We can forget about them because they have to get stops, especially playing against the Jaguars and the Texans, who get stops. You have to get stops. You can't turn the ball over expecting to outscore every time you play. So you have to buckle down defensively and play a solid game on both sides of the ball.
Let's talk about the undefeateds in the CFL. At this point of the season now, we have just 4 left after 3 games, which I like. The problem is one of them people have trouble with in their mindset in the game, that he might be undefeated regardless. But we only have 4. We have the Raiders, who have been very impressive as usual. We got the Packers, who are in a dogfight with the Vikings right now, live on SCTV. And then you got the Texans and the Chargers. The Chargers, they've got 2 CPU games. I think one was a sim that they got the win in, and one was a CPU game straight up played. Which team do you think? Let's take the Raiders out of the discussion. Who's got the best shot at going undefeated out of those 3? Which, if you're going to say the Raiders are going undefeated, then obviously the Chargers will not. So then it basically, for me, comes down to Packers and Texans. we'll see what happens. This Packers game is looking pretty interesting. Let me get back on here and see where they're at now. Last I saw was 7-0 Vikes in a defensive slugfest.
Well, I don't think any of those three teams will be going undefeated. I don't think any four of those teams will be going undefeated. I actually think the Raiders are they're kind of threatening a loss these next couple weeks with no Carr. McCarthy was just a shock to the world last year, winning Defensive Player of the Year in the AFC. He's been slow. Latavius Murray is slow. He's got off slow this year. I think Malcolm Smith got hurt in the same game. Carr was hurt. And they get a couple tough matchups. They get the Texans is coming up, and they have to go play the Denver's they're winless, but Denver has talent, and we know that Crow can surprise you in the blink of an eye if you're not careful. So I think they'll actually stumble one of those two games, and I don't think it's realistic to believe that the Texans, they still have to play the Jaguars twice, the Colts twice, so I don't think it's realistic that they'll go undefeated. And the Packers in that division still tough, and they still have some quality NFC teams to play. I think they play the NFC East still. They still have to play the Cowboys, they have to play the Eagles, the Giants, who knows. So I think all four of those teams will have at least one loss before it's all said and done. I don't think the Chargers, I don't think realistically it's fair to put the Chargers in the spot to go undefeated. They've been very fortunate so far this year.
Right. I think it's possible that the Raiders could find themselves in double-digit wins, looking to go undefeated again this year at 10-0, 11-0, and then we're looking at the schedule trying to find where that loss is gonna be. But I don't see any of the other three going undefeated. The Packers are actually down 14-0 to the Vikings right now. Vikings also have the ball in field goal range, I believe. Last I just looked while you were talking.
Well, let's see. Let's put some pressure on the Texans because they're in an optimum position right now. You get the Raiders. I think it's week 4 or this.
Yeah, I think they're playing.
No Carr, and possibly no Malcolm Smith. So the opportunity there for a win is huge. You just take care of the ball. No Alden too with the exactly. So the opportunity for the Texans to come up with a huge win here and just take advantage of the circumstances is huge if they can capitalize.
And you kind of struck on it, but we just had a nice injury, CFL injury. Derek Carr went down with a torn abdominal muscle. Last week, I think Gronkowski went down also the week prior with the same injury. Carr will only miss part of that game, and he will miss the next 2 games, which will be against the aforementioned Texans and Broncos, 2 divisional games, and they're going to be relying on Stephen Morris to get the job done, which leads me to believe they're going to be relying on Latavius Murray and the defense to get the job done. Morris was kind of a hit-and-miss quarterback at the U, and I don't know. He's mobile. He can move. They can move the pocket, get the play-action game going, but his numbers, his ability doesn't really jump off at you like you should really expect him to win you the game with his arm. But Walk has done crazier things. Morris, with confidence pumped into him, only has a short of 80, a medium accuracy of 79, and deep of 64. But he, like I said, he can move the pocket. He's good in the play-action game, good throwing on the run. So it'll be interesting to see what the Raiders' game plan is on offense and if they change it at all, especially against the Texans. The Broncos, they're going up against 2 loaded teams and that loaded Broncos defense. So it's going to be interesting. I want to watch these games these next 2 weeks, see how Walk manages it without the superstar Super Bowl winning.
I agree, but I just want to add this little sidebar. We cut Stephen Morris. He was our 3rd string, and we cut him in the middle of last year. So if he's able to beat this loaded Texans team, and that's the team that I really expect to the best opportunity to beat him. And so if he's able to do anything remarkably decent offensively with that quarterback against that front 7. We don't even have to say the names. We all know who they are. J.J. Swat, Clowney, Whitney Merciless, who played extremely well last year. So if he's able to do some things offensively on that team, I'm really what I expect is the Texans to hunker down and slow down Latavius Murray on the ground game. Not give up the big play. I'm not sure how Stephen Morris is throwing the deep ball, but limit the big play receivers on the outside and play a slow ground game, run the ball, take advantage of DeAndre Hopkins on the outside, who's been phenomenal. He just got paid this year, a huge payday. So if they can slow the game down, don't turn the ball over, and force Walk to have to go up the field methodically with Stephen Morris, I think they'll put themselves in a great position to win.
On a side note, the Raiders cut reserve cornerback Doran Grant and picked up Bruce Gradkowski to take care of their second string quarterback duties, which Gradkowski can get it done in the short and intermediate passing game, so it'll be interesting if they have a short leash on Stephen Morris. But it's I expect the Texans to go ground and pound but we'll get into that game more. I expect with Arian Foster back in the starting lineup, things were looking pretty good this past week against the. All right, let's talk about the team who's playing and trailing right now, and the Green Bay Packers. Are they your favorite? I know it's early, but the way that they've performed so far this year, taking care of Walk last year with their interesting game plan, are they a favorite to win in the NFC? And we see them struggling now that we prepped this for pre-week 4, but now they're struggling with the Vikings, who are always a tough matchup for anybody in the CFL.
So, and exactly, and that's the reason why I kind of, was going to preface my comment that I was going to make with that being said, but I'm just going to ignore the game that's going on currently. I look at this team and I say, offensively, they have everything. Eddie Lacy strong in run game. They get back Jordy Nelson. Defensively, that's secondary. I mean, you'll kind of be hard-pressed to find a better secondary in the entire CFL, just from safeties, defensive backs. You got B.J. Raji, Clay Matthews is still there. It's a loaded team, and it all comes down to the decision-making and Currency making sure that he doesn't, get into a high-scoring affairs and high turnover affairs, which we know he's sometimes prone to. You got to give him credit for the 5 turnover games against the Jaguars. That's a team that lost 2 games last year. And they were extremely outclassed. Cody, he just couldn't understand. He couldn't fathom how well the defensive backs were playing against his receivers. So I think right now, as it stands, and it's extremely early, as you mentioned, but I think the Packers are definitely the favorites in the NFC at the moment. I give them the slight edge. They've just had some extremely impressive performances. And Hughes right now, I mean, is there a more explosive receiver than he is? I know there's a whole bunch of, speedy receivers out here that were drafted early that are performing extremely well. But I mean, that guy, he's got he's playing teams 2 catches. He's going 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we know what he's there for. We know what he's out there trying to do with him. So he's still able to accomplish that. So that's impressive.
Yeah, this offense is ridiculous. They've got 3 high tier receivers. If you're looking at the contracts together, they got 3 high tier receivers, and then they got the rookie Hughes, who's just like, I don't know, he's averaging like 40 yards a catch and like 2 touchdowns a game right now, or 3 touchdowns a game. Then you got Ty Montgomery there in the pocket too. I mean, it's crazy. Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, and Devontae Adams were the 3 I was talking about. Then you got the rookie, and even Ty Montgomery is a beast out of Stanford, still developing as a route runner. But I mean, he's got that explosiveness and ability too that would be a hot commodity. It's gonna be interesting to see if this team that's put together right now is. I mean, you got Vernon Davis and Antonio Gates, who will be gone after this season. They got both of their guards and their left tackle, who are going to be on free agency, along with Eddie Lacy. It's going to be interesting how they can manage the cap moving forward.
And that is something that's going to be huge, because you take a look at this cap situation, and I remember I told you, I mentioned it to you, I think last week. It's going to be really interesting to see how he plays this. He could have some interesting free agents becoming available, just because the 2 tight end signings were head scratchers this past offseason.
I agree. They're not even good. Antonio's pretty good, but Vernon Davis has got that 90 overall money, and he isn't even that fast anymore, and all of his pass catching attributes are terrible, like horrible. nobody would want that on their team. But
exactly, and it has to strictly be off name value.
Right. Antonio's still pretty nice though. He's still in the 90s on his catch and all that. He's just lost quite a few steps that 83 route running is not necessarily going to make up for. Ah, man, what in the fuck is going on in Washington, in the nation's capital? Redskins went on autopilot because they, what were they doing? They were going to see Hunger Games yesterday. So they went on autopilot, took the loss to the Packers. But in the week prior, Redskins, in the Tony Romo payback game from last season, they lost 40-3 after dropping the opener against Cincinnati, dealing with the suspension of Alfred Morris for the next 3 games. RG3 is playing terribly. I mean, we knew that this team was weak in the trenches, weak in the secondary, pretty solid at the skill positions offensively. But I mean, what is going on? And can they turn?
And no, well, all I'll say is I know the Eagles are chomping at the bit to get to this matchup before they possibly right their ship a little bit and try to salvage the season, try to kind of catch them while they're wounded. But missing Alfred Morris is huge because as good as Matt Scott and some of their other running back options are, they just provide no threat. And you play off of Deshaun Jackson, and other than that, who really scares you on this team?
Right.
If you user cover Jordan Reed and just let Robert Griffin just airmail every throw he makes. I understand the issues that he's having and the frustration that he's having with this team. Defensively, everyone's a turnstile. Everyone gets beat. They miss tackles. It's horrific to watch these guys. I watched that. I couldn't get past the third quarter of that game. I had to turn it off. It was so one-sided, and it was terrible to watch.
And I'm not sure, I haven't really paid attention to this with running this 3-4, if Junior, Gillette, and Kerrigan are being used as pass rushing beasts or if they're being dropped into coverage a lot, because that they are not cover guys at all. So I'm not sure. Kerrigan has a little bit of zone skill, but
he's actually also been the lone bright spot on that entire team. I know when I've played them, he made his presence felt, but he was about the only one that made his presence felt out there.
Yeah, they tried to shore up the secondary. They traded for Raheem Moore last year, traded for Ron Parker before the draft this year, shored up the safety positions, but they've got issues at corner. They're trying to leave Jonathan Joseph at an island. He's a good cover corner, but he's lost one step. He's not that slow, but leaving him on an island has not worked out for them very well so far this year. They signed Tremont Williams, who's, I don't even know if he should be in the league anymore with that 80 speed at cornerback. He's got the coverage ability, but obviously it's not working out at all in the nation's capital. And it might be time to think quarterback this coming offseason and draft.
I was actually surprised he let Kirk Cousins walk. Just to provide an option, secondary option. If RG3 was struggling, because he struggled last year as well. So it's not, that probably was a precursor to this year.
Right. All right. We all know about the weapons that Cleveland has actually on offense this year and last year, really, with Gabriel and Hawkins got loose a lot last year. Benjamin, there's a lot of short, tricky, twitchy, speedy guys. This year they get Ed Greco in the draft, and he's one of those 98 speed burners. We've seen him going vertical a lot for the Browns. And they get the talented, possibly one of the most raw, talented receivers we've ever seen in Josh Gordon. And he's really doing, he hasn't done anything. He's averaging 37 yards a game on the season through 3 games. My question to you is Josh Gordon, this year suspension and the issues that he had the year prior to that with the suspension. Is he out of football shape? Is he lacking chemistry with Manziel? I mean, what do you think it is? I see Manziel loves the little short receivers that he's developed the chemistry with over the last year. Plus Ed Greco getting at it, and he likes the new tight end Sanford that they drafted. And then obviously Duke Johnson is taking a lot of touches in the passing game away. He's like their top receiving target on the team out of the backfield. He's very talented out of the backfield. But yeah, what do we think with Josh Gordon? He got a big contract last year during his suspension, I believe. He's got the attributes Madden-wise. He's a stud. He's listed second on the depth chart though, which is interesting, to Ed Greco. What do you think's going on with Josh?
I just think it's a situation where right now he's just not meshing with the offense. I mean, last year they were putting up 50 against some teams, 40 against some teams. Like you said, Gabriel playing extremely well. Now you add Greco, who's been one of the bright spots offensively, and you add Duke Johnson in, who gets involved in the passing game. I just think it's a situation where they have to just revisit, although at face value Josh Gordon is the best receiver on that team, sometimes it's something I like just always say, ratings aren't always indicative of great players. And, sometimes players don't play up to their ratings, and sometimes players play higher than their ratings. And I think that could be a situation that we might be seeing right now because he's just not getting open. And that's something I've noticed when I've watched his games, and I'm like, wow, okay, where's Gordon on the field? He's not open. And the guy I see constantly open is Greco deep. And Sanford, who I played in the preseason, he is a stud. I mean, when I played him, he was consistently open. He was making plays down up the seams in the middle of the field, breaking tackles. And I didn't even notice Josh Gordon in the game. And I had him manned up against Ladarius Webb majority of that game, that first half when he was playing. And his imprints on the game were not left at all. So I think the Browns need to try and reevaluate that receiving core right now, and go on a who's performing well right now, and give them the most opportunities to make plays, because they can't afford to get behind in this division. They have two other really good teams, and the Ravens, who are trying to turn things around, but they have two teams that they have to keep up with. So they have to try to get things going quickly. I'm
curious. I want to look. Let me go to the salary page. I want to see, because I swear he signed Josh last year during the season.
And he did. He signed him during the season, so he's committed to him.
Let's see. We've got. I want to see what other receiver. Okay, you got Gabriel and Benjamin both on the last year of their deals.
So that'll be interesting.
You got any other receivers here? Hartline, but I don't think he's worried about losing a Hartline. Then you got Hawkins, who's could lose a step. That dude is a beast. He is a terror in the slot. But this team, I mean, he's just got too many weapons. He didn't want to pass up on the 4.2 speed of Greco, and they just got too many weapons at his disposal offensively now, to be quite honest. That could be part of the reason with Josh. But as you said, he doesn't seem to be getting separation, getting open for whatever reason so far this season. I'm sure the Browns will not be moving on, though, because he's got 4 years on the deal.
Exactly. Well, one more question is, where is that big free agent acquisition? What is he doing? Where is that max deal that he got? Is that coming into play? I don't think, has he even recorded a sack so far this year?
I would be surprised if he hasn't recorded a sack. Let's see here. I think he had a TFL in the first game, if I remember, but that was the only thing I remember. Let's see. Wilkerson on the year has recorded 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss, 8 total tackles through 3 games for $120 million.
I kind of give him a curve. I'll give him more of a sample size. We can revisit this question, I guess, midway point through the season.
True. Oh, man. Surprises and disappointments this year so far. I'm gonna go. I don't really have anything prepared on disappointments, but I will just say now instead of at the end that my disappointment is Smash Mouth, but I know it's more of a personal availability thing with him. But you know, he comes back. I managed his roster for him, and then he didn't show up at all to play any games. And then he did tell me he's just can't do it. So hopefully the Shaka dude, Shaka, whatever he want to go by, hopefully he is legit. I need to get this tryout in with him. I forgot about it last night. If somebody sees him online and I'm not here, man, run that tryout with him. Let's get him in the league. Get these Titans solidified. He's disappointed too. He's acting like a little bitch. Ask if he's getting fired. All this nonsense, man. And then other disappointment I had noted for last night was the loser of the 49er and Giants game, which I believe the Giants came back and won 21-19. So I'll go with the 49ers at 0-3 with the speedy vroom vroom connection this year now. I'll go with the Niners and CV as a disappointment of a team who's been playing this year.
Okay, and my surprise so far is the Cardinals. I thought they've been extremely pleasant to watch offensively, and defensively they had some big performance. They had a great performance against the Seahawks, closing that game out, getting a late interception to seal the deal. And they played, and they actually let one get away from them, so they could actually be 2-0 in that division because they actually lost one late in overtime against the Rams, giving up a last-second field goal. So I've been really impressed by them, and I think that's a team moving forward that we should all keep an eye on.
Yeah, Dane Lucas has been
quarterback and a running back.
Dane Lucas has been a stud. He's I don't know what to say. He reminds of like a young Big Ben or something. He's 6'4", 230 with this very strong arm, very accurate in the intermediate routes, working on the deep pass, but he's got some legs on him. He's got 76 speed. He can get away from pressure if needed. They can move him around if needed. So I would compare him to Big Ben, I guess, if I had to pick somebody.
Yeah, I like that comparison. I also just want to give a little kudos to him as well for, I like to try to award sim decision making whenever I can. He let Darrell Washington walk this year. Obviously, we know all the trouble he's been through, and that seemed like a situation that would probably happen in real life. So, kudos to him for letting a good player in this game go away. I don't know how many other teams would have let him walk. Obviously, we see Josh Gordon back in Cleveland,
right.
Situations like that. So, kudos to him for having the particular testitude to let him walk and fill him in with Kevin Minter, who's been playing really well. So that's my surprise, and my disappointment is those Washington Redskins, because now you reminded me when you brought up Raheem Moore and Ron Parker. I actually looked at those moves and thought that they could be a team that could maybe challenge the second or third seed in the NFC East, but it's been terrible. Everything that's going wrong and I don't see any bright spot moving forward for this team. Coming into the season, I thought they made some decent moves. I know Jonathan Joseph was not a marquee name, coming in this year because obviously he's lost a couple steps, but you bring in Raheem Morris before the trade deadline last year. You bring in Ron Parker, solidify that secondary. Two really good safeties that can help. Ron Parker can cover. So I thought I expect a little bit more from them. I didn't expect them to be as inept as they are.
Low key on the Cardinals though, talking about free agents, Muhammad Wilkerson and all that. Cardinals changed over to the 4-3, and I think they might have been one of the only teams to bid on Vinny Curry, and he has come in there playing at the defensive end position and recorded 19 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks, already eclipsing his total from last season and nearly halfway to his career high 2 years ago with the Eagles. So Vinny's been a stud over there in Arizona so far.
And Vinny is a great player. We just did not have the room to play him. He just did not fit, and he was just a little too small for me to play outside linebacker. And a little too slow to play outside linebacker for me, and a little too small to line up at defensive end. So we graciously let him walk and sent him to the Ravens, and I'm glad to see him in Arizona, making a name for himself because he's a really good player.
My two surprises, I will start with the Bengals, which it makes me angry too at the same time because Nipper's going to be done after the season to tend to his newborn at all hours of the day. He's been playing really well actually. Our game, he was 2-0 coming into our game. I won, but it was tight. It was 30-24. He nearly got a stop. I ended up kicking a field goal right with 30 seconds left in the game to go up 30-24. He nearly had a stop to get the ball back, going on a crazy run in the third and fourth quarter on me. But Nipper's been impressive going through his reads offensively, and there's a few times where he had a lot of time in the pocket, but everything was covered, and then he swung it out wide to a check down, which was impressive going through his progressions to me. And the other team I have is the Buffalo Bills. Johnson is on that VGP flow this year, which interestingly enough, he was 2-0 going into this past week and then dropped the game against the Chargers on kind of a questionable defensive play call at their, I think the Chargers won the game as time expired on a Phillip Rivers sneak up the middle out of the shotgun. It was a questionable play call by the Bills, though, in my opinion. It was the 3-yard line, and he called cover 4 on the 3-yard line. So the entire middle of the defense was wide open for Rivers to walk into the end zone. In that situation, you got to, at the most, call cover 3, at the least call cover 2, and that option would not have been open. It's not to say Phillip wouldn't have connected with somebody, but that's a tough one to swallow. And Tyrod Taylor playing like Tyrod Taylor can play like, man. So far this season, a near 100 quarterback rating, 4 TDs, 2 picks, moving the pocket, getting him out on the perimeter has been impressive, completing 70% of his passes this season.
And
it's good to see that, man. It's good to see that.
I just want to jump on a little bit of love for Shady, my former running back. He's getting carries.
I think he had 3 TDs last game on the ground. Not getting the yardage, but he had 3 TDs.
Yeah. So that's a little uncharacteristic of Shady being workmanlike, but I'm glad to see him trying to find any way to be effective. So that's good to see out there in the cold Buffalo. With no Carlos, so rest in peace to Carlos.
That's still crazy to me. Anyway, let's do some week 4 picks minus the game being played. What's the score in the game, guys? And y'all in the shout box, because that should make my stream lag when I try to watch the game at the same time as doing this. League schedule for the week. Let's go ahead and make these picks. Pull this cap card up. All right. Right off the top, we got Seahawks at Dolphins. The only interesting thing about this game to me, 2 things. Is Legend going to prove himself this week in the CFL is 1. And 2 is Rooks going to press cover with Sherm on the young, speedy rookie receiver that was taken 3rd overall, whose name I can't think of right now. Is he going to press him like Prop did with Revis with no help over the top? And what is going to be the end result of that in this game?
So, yeah, as Mr. Jennings, and
Jennings, yeah.
I think, the Seahawks need to rebound coming off a tough loss to the Cardinals. And, they need to try to make some ground here and, get back on the right track and, stack some wins up and so they can be competitive in that NFC West, which is, all of a sudden now, I know we've all harped on the AFC North, but that NFC West is getting really interesting with 3 really good teams at the top. Who knows what happens with the 49ers. I know they're having some issues with Kaepernick, but, but getting back to this game, I think the Seahawks are able to, kind of flood Jennings. And, aside from him, there's not many options that the Dolphins have offensively and defensively. That secondary, we all watched that game against the Texans, and they were just throttled offensively by the, so who knows?
Good game plan by the Texans.
Seahawks don't have, the Seahawks don't have receivers, as well as the Texans do. There's no DeAndre Hopkins out there, or the Philly native on the other side. His name eludes me right now. I can't remember his name. But Seahawks, I think the Seahawks win. I think they, force some turnovers, and they win 28-17.
I'm going to take the Seahawks to win this game 23-10. And we'll move on to Chiefs at Colts. I think this is a proving ground for Andrew Luck with that contract going up against this defense. The look at that bastard that just signed online. Anyway, this is a proving ground for the Colts, man, and Andrew Luck. Kansas City's been playing well with the rookie quarterback in there. They did take a sim loss this past week to drop to 1-2, but these are two teams that this win it could help dictate how their season's gonna go. Especially the Chiefs, they can't afford to fall 1-3 in that division, or even in the wild card race, for that matter, in the AFC. I'm gonna take. I want to take the upset special with the Chiefs, but I'm gonna take the Colts in this one. 31-17. Their defense finally steps up.
And I like what the Chiefs are doing with Joey Hunter. He has a huge arm. Obviously, he's one of those Hunter brothers, him and Kona out in St. Louis. But I don't think they have enough offensively to keep up with this, the pace that the Indianapolis Colts are setting now with Andrew Luck. He seems to be coming into a groove, and if he can keep that running game going with Riley and get some consistency on offense, I think they kind of roll in this one. And although that Kansas City defense is stout with Derek Johnson's in the middle of the field, that secondary is kind of porous. There's no Eric Berry back there. There's no Ron Parker back there now, for what that's worth. So I think the Colts roll about 41-10.
Wow.
Laugher.
Wow. All right, we got Titans and Lions. Hopefully this will be Kenny breaking in the new owner Shaka. I'm hoping for the best there. Kenny is going to welcome him to the league with 5 interceptions. Stafford again will eclipse 400 yards though, as he continues to run away with the passing title early on. Titans win the game 27-21.
Wow, even after the Lions coming off a huge win in Minnesota?
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
Kenny was looking like Captain Check down to that running back, I must say. I watched like 2 minutes of the game, and I probably saw 4 flat route immediate passes to that running back, Brian Griffin, the dog.
Said if it's not man, I'm checking down if I don't read the man right off the bat. But we had Matt Stafford. I think he's leading the league in yards. So I think the Detroit Lions, they've got a good formula here. They moved DeAndre Levy to inside linebacker. So I think they keep this little win streak going they have here, and they win a 27-20 game. I'm not really familiar with this user, so maybe he'll surprise me. But I don't have enough confidence in him yet to think that he'll be the team that's coming off a big win against Minnesota, who's also on a big win right now against the Packers. Excuse me.
Right. All right. 2-1-2 teams, I believe, meeting up in New York, New Jersey, whatever. Giants and Bears, must-win game to keep pace in their divisions and keep pace in the wild card race, not fall to 1-3. You've got Bryce Petty and the Bears going up against Eli and the Giants. I must say one little tidbit. Talk to your boy Mac. I seen so much 4 and 5 wide, so much. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, I'm gonna go with the Bears rebounding after whatever the hell that was this past week against the Colts. I'm going to go with the Bears taking this one down 24-17. They stopped that spread attack with all those offensive weapons from the Giants, and Bryce Petty finally takes care of the ball a little bit, going for only 2 interceptions to his 3 touchdown passes.
Now, I think this game will be interesting because you'll see here strength against strength. You'll have Rogers Cromartie and Prince Amukamara matched up with the speedy receivers Kevin White and Sidney Scott of Chicago. So, I think whoever, if the Chicago is able to get the big plays in the air offensively, I think they pull out the win. But, if some of those big plays are intercepted, which we know Prince Amukamara and Rogers Cromartie, they tend to intercept some deep attempts. So we'll see what gives here. I guess this is sort of a movable object versus unstoppable force, if you will. So we'll see what happens. But I think the Bears, who they've been kind of prone to making those big plays, so I think they win the game 24-10. And the Giants offensively, they just have not been able to move the ball much. They have not been able to score consistently.
It's been kind of shocking, really.
Struggle.
They've been struggling to put up points with Odell, Victor, Randall, Donnell. Yeah, it's been interesting that they're struggling that much to put up points on the board. All right, coming across live on the wire was the Vikings rebounding from their loss to the Lions, knocking off the hot Packers 21-7. 7 points from that Packer offense, proving once again you never know what to expect from week to week in the CFL. And putting a little silence to that Hughes cheese for 1 week.
And I know a lot of people probably won't agree with this, but pound for pound, I think that's probably the best defense in our league right now. I played against that defense, and that front seven is unbelievable, and that secondary plays extremely well. I mean, you literally cannot throw at Xavier Rhodes on that right side. You literally can't. And his left side and his slot corner, they do a great job in man, and he plays to his team's strength extremely well. Anthony Barr off the edge. He's dominating tackles. Everson Griffith on the line. You have the baby Kendricks in the middle of the field. That team is extremely well put together. Those two safeties back there do a great job of tracking the ball deep. So I think that's one of the better defenses and possibly the best defense in our entire league. And they prove it today, holding that stout offense to 7 points.
Yeah, Hughes was held to 4 catches for 61 yards, no TDs. And I think Rodgers was 14 for 30 on the day. 1 interception, 174 yards. Kind of remind me of Rodgers from a couple weeks ago in real life. We've got the Panthers off of a heartbreaking loss. That was a roller coaster of emotion last night. Teddy Ginn returns a kick with 1 minute left for a TD to put the Panthers up. And then they let the Broncos drive down the field to score a game-winning TD right at the buzzer. And they travel to Tampa Bay, take on Jameis Winston in his second year. Spider Subi and the Buccaneers. I think the Panthers are going to have a resounding W this week. I think they're going to execute well on offense this week. Kind of shocked that the defense let them down like that. Granted, it was a Broncos offense that's loaded, but kind of shocked the defense let them down on that last drive yesterday. I'm going to go with the Panthers rebounding, getting... Is that their first dub of the season? I don't know if they've got one or not. Regardless, they're going to win this football game 24-3.
Whoa.
Picking off Jameis 3 or 4 times with that nice secondary they've got there. Luke Kuechly.
That's interesting.
Panthers do have one down.
The Buccaneers have a lot of options on offense. In the middle of the field, they have 2 good receivers on the outside. That'll be interesting. I think they actually, I think the Panthers are a team that's they're falling. They're falling into a bottomless pit. Offensively, I'm not sure. Is Kelvin Benjamin performing well so far this year?
I don't think he even got a pass thrown to him last night, which is crazy to me. Even if he's one-on-one covered, throw it up to him at least once or twice a game with his 6'5" and his ability to catch the football. He did not. Yeah, he did not have one catch. I'm about 99% sure of that. Not one. Maybe not even a pass thrown this way. He was looking at that rookie last night, 89. I can't remember his name. He's looking at him a lot. But, yeah, a lot of drags. A lot of drag routes from the Panthers yesterday.
Well, and I think that'll play right into the Buccaneers' hands because, they play that Tampa too, so you'll find yourselves having to combat that zone a lot. So, if you're not looking to make plays down the field, I think that'll play into Tampa Bay's hands. I think you'll see a lot of the short passing game and Doug Martin up the middle, a lot of, throws to the tight end for the Packers. I think we'll see a low-scoring affair here. I'll go 17-14 Buccaneers, and the low-scoring one, decided by, maybe a play or two at the end or possibly a last-second field goal.
Big game to watch this week. Here's the Bengals and your Eagles. I've been saying Nipper's been impressive this year, mixing in Jeremy Hill and Gio a little bit more, mixing them up, getting AJ loose, getting Eifert loose. Sanu has been kind of okay I don't know. I don't know if he was worth the contract and Nipper that he signed to last year, but Marvin Jones has been a nice bright spot as well. The defense has been, the secondary's kind of beaten down with losing some of their key components. Leon Hall, they drafted a corner early this year. He's been getting roasted a little bit on the outside at the right cornerback position. And then you got the Eagles, who bounced back, took care of business, ended the Des X tour last week, very early in the season. The Des X tour lasted just 2 games. I'm going to go with the Eagles in this game, though. I think the offense is going to be a little too much for the Bengals to keep up with. I'm going to go 30-21 Eagles.
Now, I won't pick a score, but I'll just give a little bit of my thoughts on what I expect coming into this game. The way we'll probably, try to approach covering AJ will be similar to how we schemed Des Bryant. We'll have him doubled on, and we'll have him spies underneath him. We'll have Kendricks flowing around on Eifert, so Eifert will not be Tender is out there, so you can forget about Eifert. He should just take the day off. Christine Michael, 17 attempts, 44 yards. We'll try to expect the same. It's a little bit different here going against Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard. A little bit of thunder and lightning, so we'll have to be on the lookout for that. And offensively for us, business as usual. Try to run the ball. Try to look to get some matchups against with Aguilar on the outside, Burton against some linebackers, and we'll take it from there. It'll be a good game. I expect. It's a good team, a good defense, really good defensive line. So we'll definitely have to try to limit Bradford's sack totals. So hopefully Lane Johnson and Jason Peters and those guys, they come to play and give some protection so we can make some plays.
Game that should be kicking off here right after QnCP. Bills at Steelers. Steelers looking to get back to 500, and the Bills looking to rebound after that tough loss at the last second on Phillip Rivers' draw that we spoke about earlier. My boys just need to come play on defense. We did a little shake up in the roster last week, promoting our rookie tight end to number 1 on the depth chart over Heath Miller. Got Steven Terrell in there at free safety now. Moved Mike Mitchell over to his more natural strong safety spot. Get Shamarko the hell out of my team, at least for now. Maybe getting on the bench, thinking about what he's doing. He's gonna stop being stupid out on the field because he's actually got real nice attributes for a strong safety with 90 speed, 90 hit power. He's getting his man coverage and zone up. So it'd be nice to keep him, but he might be a free agent. Anyway, I'm not going to make a pick on the game. I just know it's going to be a great game. T-Mobile out there moving around in the pocket. It's going to be tough. Good thing about my defense is we have a lot of team speed in the front 7, especially in the middle linebacker positions. And Bud Dupree.
Well, I think in this game, the key in this game here is whether Charles Clay is allowed to get loose. If Charles Clay is held in, that's T-Mobile's favorite target. So, if you get him crowded defensively, I think the Steelers win comfortably. I don't think Shady has much of a game against this defense, and I think Big Ben can make some plays against that secondary with Big AB making some plays in the passing game. Stephon Gilmore, I think he has a tough day, and on the other side, he has a big option to throw to Martavius Bryant. So I think the Steelers, if they can control Charles Clay, we know Johnson likes to get into the mind of Charles Clay sometimes. So
just can't let Sammy get off for his first big game of the year.
That's also
How's
Brandon Boyd going out there?
I don't know. I don't see him, man. He's made a couple good pass breakups. He's a beast statistically. Like, everybody in the league would like to have him. But I don't know. He might have to go take that number 1 role next year, though, when William Gay regresses in speed. And I don't think anybody would keep William Gay around like I have, but he's my number 1 corner because we are a zone blitz defense, and he has he's basically a free safety. He's got free safety attributes, man. Great tackler, 92 zone, good press corner, good tackler, good block shedder. He's a beast. I like having him on the outside for tosses and then pressing and playing his zone. We got the Rams at the Saints. Striker is back. Took a tough loss to the Buccaneers yesterday. Rams have been rolling right along with Kona, their rookie quarterback that they took after trading up trying to get Jennings. They settled on the quarterback. The lefty looked ugly as fuck out on the field, but it's been effective so far this year. And that Rams defense is going to cause fits for these Saints offensive line. They are very weak on the O-line outside of the tackle positions. And I'm going to go with the Rams blowing the Saints out this week. Todd Gurley getting loose. Although the Saints did shore up their defense in the draft. The two outside linebackers they took are great. But we'll go with the Rams on this one. 27-10. I guess it's not really a blowout, but
upset. I have my first upset here because I think Stryker and his gameplay plays right into what you want to do against take notes to be successful. Kona right now is struggling, and he doesn't really have many targets. I mean, it's Jared Cook and Tavon Austin if he can get loose deep. Besides that, offensively, it's Todd Gurley, and I think with Stryker's usering abilities, I think he can limit Jared Cook and limit some of the deep plays to Tavon. And I think he forces some turnovers, and he does just enough on offense to make it, put the game in his favor. So I think the Saints win 27-24, and probably in a nominee for the game of the week.
We got the Jaguars at the Broncos. Broncos had a clutch victory led by Brock Osweiler last night. And the Jaguars sitting at 2-1. Looking to keep pace with the Texans for first in the division early on in the season. A little bit of a spit going back and forth between these two users. And I don't know, man. I want to believe that Crow is going to make it happen, but I feel like when things fall apart for Crow, they fall apart fast. And Cody is not a user you can afford to have things fall apart against.
And that is correct. But Crow has had the advantage against Cody their last two times they matched up.
Yes, he has.
And the way Crow plays sometimes, it's just so it catches you off guard, the throws that he makes. You don't expect them to throw sometimes. And it's fun. Sometimes it's fun playing against him because, some of his decisions, kind of throws a monkey wrench into what you're expecting. And, and before you know it, you're down 21. And, he starts running. He pounds the ball heavy with C.J. Anderson and, kills that clock. And if he could force a turnover or two against the Jaguars team, they committed 5 turnovers last week. I think they have an opportunity to pull an upset here. What probably wouldn't be an upset for teams, it just user-wise makes it an upset. But I think the Broncos pulled off the upset. The Jaguars lose back-to-back games. And the score is a little high scoring, 34-27.
YOLO, I'm going 31-28. Broncos win on a last-second field goal. Oof. Cardinals at 49ers. 49ers need to show some life, man. Their season could be falling apart quickly otherwise. They're sitting at 0-3. Cardinals looking to keep pace with the Rams and the Seahawks in the division. Very impressive team early on. It was one of your surprises, an impressive team so far this year, the Cardinals. I don't see it stopping this week. I'm going to go with the Cardinals winning this game 24-6. I don't think that the 49ers offense has really got it like that. They don't really have the weapons. Kaepernick, I don't think he's the answer at quarterback. I mean, I could see a couple of early field goals from the Niners and shut out the rest of the game by the impressive Cardinals D, possible couple turnovers caused by Pat Pete, Tyron, and them.
Well, I think this could probably be our first shutout. I think depending upon field position, those field goals may not even occur. I just, the way Kaepernick is playing right now, it's worse than pathetic. And right now he's coming in to see the Honey Badger and Patrick Peterson on the other side, Deion Buchanan up top. So it's really going to be tough for him to get anything going in the air. And defensively, that team is extremely stout in the running game. So And I look for offensively the Cardinals to have a decent game, play a lot of ground control, a lot of clock management. As they'll likely be up big early, maybe 21-0 early, and they'll cruise to an easy victory. I'll go 24-7 maybe, but I could definitely see this going 21-0 or 27-0 and just a laugher.
All right, this is a game I hope gets played by both users because the U is in Puerto Rico, but I'm not sure what the schedule is like there. Did the U win yesterday? I saw highlights. I seen the U was up on somebody good and ranked 16 or something like that in NCAA. Anyway, I think this is gonna. Well, we got till Monday. Maybe he'll be back to play the game. It's an interesting game if it's both users here. I think that Julio could get in on this Cowboys defense as long as Matty's got the time to throw the football. And the Cowboys need a bounce back game badly.
Well, this is for my sake, obviously, I hope this game gets played because that Falcons team could present some problems. Now, I just want to give a little love. We don't usually give love to Cowboys out in Eagles country, but Orlando Scandrick has been a godsend for this team returning off that injury. He's been extremely well, and he's automatically boosted that secondary, and they're playing, totally different now. You have guys that are bench players going back to their natural positions who were last year forced, thrust into the starting roles. So if this game can be played, it'll be a great matchup to see Julio against Scandrick. The Cowboys, they like to man up on the outside and, have Gregory rush the quarterback. He's been extremely well coming off that 20-sack performance last year as a rookie. He looks like he's destined to put up another 20, which would be unbelievable. So if this game is played, I think the Falcons lose a close game. That's close all the way up until the end. Des Bryant, I believe, makes a play against Trufant late in the game and seals the game for them. And if it's played, I think the Cowboys win a very, very close and hard-fought game, 27-24.
I'm going to take the Cowboys 21-17. I want to say this game goes to OT low-key, but we'll go 21-17 Cowboys in a close one throughout. No comeback to make it look better than it is by the Falcons. It's going to be close throughout. We've got a showdown. Let's go Redskins and Ravens. The battle of ugh. Let's see if it gets played, man. Let's see if it gets played. I'm not even gonna talk about that game. Fuck that game. We got the game of the week: Texans at Raiders. Guys, Stephen Morris, as we discussed, thrust into the quarterback position for the Raiders in a tough matchup, in a tough spot on a short week, and a short turnaround for him trying to learn the playbook and everything. But it's walk, so he's gonna make it work. So is the question about this game then, is it going to be close? Is it going to be an entertaining game for 4 quarters? Or what? What do you expect to see out of this game?
This is tough to call because, my logic is telling me the Texans are the better team. The quarterback is not. Stephen Morris is his starting quarterback. But then my heart is telling me it's walk. And just like you said, it's walk. But I think the Texans shock the world and are up early, and they forced the Raiders into a position where they can't rely on Latavius Murray. I think he gets a couple fortunate plays one-on-one with DeAndre Hopkins, and they get up early, maybe 17-3 or 17-7, and they put the Raiders in an attack mentality, and they force some turnovers with Stephen Morris, some errant throws, and they're able to take it from there. So I have the Texans with the upset, 27, excuse me. Now this is tough for the Raiders. Where do I see the Raiders fit in? 27-21.
I don't know, man. The key to the game, whole key to the game. Go ahead.
The key to the game, I think, is third downs. I think if they can get Stephen Morris off the field on third downs, I think the Texans have a great chance of controlling the game. Because I think he'll come out, run early, run Murray early, look for Murray into the flats early against zone. But this Texans defense is really, really aggressive. And if, those safeties, those really, really quick safeties could, get in the backfield and make some plays, they'll have to put them in passing situations. And I think that'll play into J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless and Jadeveon Clowney rushing the quarterback.
I think the key to this game is the production of Arian Foster. If the production is there and he is able to average at least 4.5 yards a carry, then the Texans have a really good shot of winning the game because he's going to be able to catch Walk in those zero blitzes that he likes to run and get Hopkins loose. If he's selecting a pass play in those situations, if Walk's got to sell out to stop the run. I just want to see what he can do with Stephen Morris. If he's going to try and move him around outside the pocket, get him on the run out of play action boots and stuff like that, or if he's just not going to change the game plan and hashtag aim better. I'm still taking the Raiders to win it, but it's going to be his closest game of the season. Raiders will win the game 31-28. Couple of user picks from Walk early on, but the Houston Texans fight through it.
But I've also seen Walk. Walk is a knowledgeable guy. He's watchful, very watchful. I know that he's probably noticed that E will throw the ball one-on-one to his receivers. So I don't think we'll see as many cover zero blitzes as we are accustomed. I think we'll see a lot more cover 2, a lot more cover 3, and a lot more base defense. And not as aggressive as normal, because I don't think he believes that he can get into a firefight with this Stephen Morris character.
That's true, man. That's all the show we got. I'm about to go eat a ham and cheese sandwich before I play this game against Johnson, man. QnCP, we out. Who we presented by today, man? What do we? You got
presented by Jonathan's Joseph left shoestring.
Damn. He must have been trying to tie that shit for Mitch all season so far, man. I like how Mitch put him on the island against like a 97 speed receiver and then just listen to his reaction when he gets roasted. That shit was funny. I think that was week 1.
It's hilarious.
All right, boys. I'll be back on Monday for a CFL rank. We'll be back doing this shit on Friday night. Actually, we have to figure that out with the Thanksgiving advance will hit Monday next week with that advance as normal. Then we're gonna hit Wednesday with that advance, and then we'll probably wait until the following Monday again. So we might do like a QnCP special over the weekend, next weekend. And Cody, I already said your trade was approved. I'm sorry I didn't mark it as approved. I already told you 3rd and 5th works, even though that trade is dumb as fuck.
I actually have a couple sidebars before we get out of here.
Go ahead.
Number one, I didn't know that if you put minor at the end of a trade, that automatically gets it approved for these guys that want to just make these trades, just trade a 6-rounder for a 6-rounder. Anyway, let's moving on. And I have a better sponsor for this show. Let's forget about Jonathan Joseph's shoestring. Let's actually take the proceeds from the X tour that didn't make it to Philly and put that towards the show. Boom, roasted.